Greetings, it's Tegan from the Haunting Podcast. If you're brave enough, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you don't miss a single spooky episode. And now, back to the spooky and ooky. Hello, and welcome back to the Haunting Podcast. I'm your host, Tegan.
And I'm Jordan.
And today we're back with Reddit stories.
Reddit stories.
I love Reddit stories,
I like
honestly.
them too. They're always interesting. You never know what you're going to get.
I like to just keep you on your toes.
It does happen that way too.
Title was, Tell Me Your Creepiest Paranormal Encounter. There you go.
Spooky.
I love it. So our first story today is, I love this name. I love Reddit names. They always come up with good names. More Relationships 3868. I'll take some time to type this out. It's a little long, but it still scares me every time I think about it, and I still can't comprehend it. I live in Oregon. I work for an IT company at the community college. I wasn't getting out until about 9 to 10 p.m. by myself. It was a normal day like any other. By the time I left work, it was pitch black, and the thick underbrush made it even harder to see. This is important later. I drive through the town and finally get onto the highway that leads from Lincoln City to Corvallis, which was a long stretch of empty highway that ran 1+ hours through the forest. About 45 minutes, I got to the hill that split into 2 lanes on both sides. As I accelerated in my tiny lawnmower car, I love the description.
Those before.
I've had those too. I noticed something moving along the guardrail. Okay, I thought, it's a deer. No big deal. Just slow down and avoid the cute little bugger. I was extra careful because the thick underbrush meant each side of the road would be a deep well of blackness that could have any little critters hiding there waiting to jump out at your windshield. Okay, but why do they do that? Animals do that a lot.
I've been fighting for my life in those kind of places, driving at night.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they'll just appear.
There's times where I'm driving and I'm just like, if I crash, I crash.
Yeah, like that time that it was raining.
Yeah, that was bad. That was a really bad one.
That was a bad time. I did not enjoy that drive. Well, before I could finish that, I saw feet. If you're from Oregon, you know that the homeless situation is abysmal. It wouldn't be too strange for one of them to be hiking out here. It was definitely out of sorts this late at night. Well, I decelerated to about 65. He was going about 70 plus. Don't do that, guys. That's fast.
Yeah, I mean, I drove through Nebraska at like 100 plus.
Don't do that, Jordan.
It's okay. We were only dating for like a month.
How does that make it okay?
You wouldn't have been too upset if something happened.
I don't have a response to that. That's terrible. Don't say these things.
I just remember like ashing my cigarette out of the window and it just took it. And I was like, oh,
you just lost the whole cigarette.
Like, okay.
Oh, Jordan, no. That means you're going too fast. And kept an eye on those white shoes walking up the road. By the time I actually realized those were Legs' shoes walking, the man darted out in front of my Nissan. Oh, that's why it was a lawnmower car. It was a Nissan.
Look, those Nissan Altimas they were reliable.
They were reliable, but they could get loud.
Especially if something falls out, yeah.
You know, it happened a lot on the Nissans. Just over here dissing Nissans. Like I didn't drive a lawnmower of a Toyota.
Nissan hate podcast.
Like I didn't drive a lawnmower of a Toyota. In what I thought was a suicide attempt, I slammed on my brakes trying to avoid him and ended up sliding sideways going 60 miles per hour in the opposite lane while the man ran down in front of me relentlessly.
Jeez.
Not something I'd want to deal with. All I could see was his red plaid shirt and his body as he hit the hood of my car. When I came to a stop, he was leaning on the hood, staring directly at me.
That is something you'll never forget.
Oh no, the scream that I would scream. The primal fear I felt was something that I didn't even know existed. Yeah, that would bring out the primal fear in you.
I'd be like, I'm going to jail.
I'm going to jail. I mean, from the sounds of it, he was trying to get hit. The high beams of my car didn't even pierce whatever this man was. It was the blackest shadow or void. Then in an instant, he vanished, gone. I was breathless, absolutely breathless, shaking. I thought I had killed somebody. I sat in the opposite lane, sideways, breathing heavily for a minute or two.
Me.
I'd be crying. I'd be gasping for air from tears.
I would be hyperventilating just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a teeny tiny little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't help but scream at that point and pound on my accelerator to get out of there. I would like to make note that I don't think this man called 911. He thought he hit somebody.
It probably would have been a good idea to do it, but he was probably just like, oh no, they might come after me.
They might come after me. I called my husband screaming and crying that I had killed a man, but he disappeared and I didn't know what was happening. Could you imagine like calling the police and being like that? I hit a man, I think I killed him, but then he just disappeared. I left the scene. I know, illegal. You also didn't call the police, but we're not going to go there.
Not a good look, but we're not judging here.
We're not judging.
Except Nissans.
By the time I left home 30 minutes later, I was still shaking. I got out of my car and ran to the hood, seeing no dents, no handprints, nothing. I didn't sleep that night. Here's where it gets even more messed up. The next day at work, I researched deaths on the highway and found that a man rolled his truck with his wife and child inside. All three died. I highlighted his name and input it into Facebook. The first profile that came up was a memorial for that man. In his photo, he wore a red plaid shirt.
No sleep ever again. None. Sorry. Just no sleep.
It's just still getting me that this person didn't call 911.
Irresponsible.
I returned a few weeks later. In that same area, where my skid marks were, was a guardrail. Tied to the guardrail was, and probably still is, a moldy child toy, a rabbit. Something is deeply, deeply haunted about that highway. I'm just glad there wasn't anyone in the oncoming lane, or I too would have been trapped there along with that man, whoever he was.
God, spooky. That's actually really spooky because I wouldn't sleep again. Road tripping in the middle of the night. I don't know about that anymore. That's out. Oregon, I'd probably just leave the state.
Yeah. That's just when you move.
I'm not risking that again.
You just look out. It's like the guy from Courage the Cowardly Dog. Return the slab.
Return the slab.
It's just this man in a plaid shirt.
Terrible.
Return my rabbit.
All right. Well, I have a story. This one is from everyone's favorite Reddit user, Deleted.
Oh, very popular on Reddit.
It's very popular. Ex-husband's family owns a massive farmhouse that was built in the late 1800s and has been passed down through generations. They inherited from a pair of bachelor brothers and their sister, Aunt Kate. So it goes, she died in the attic, so that's why you hear pacing up there at night. She loves to take things like ex-mother-in-law's jewelry and move it around the house.
Watch. If it was me as a ghost, I'd just be like, and this is mine now.
This looks great. I think I'll take it.
Man, this would look great on my ghostly white dress that everyone always sees me in.
Exactly. The music room used to be used as a funeral parlor for that area way back in the day. Good.
They had a funeral parlor?
Back in the Victorian era. Yeah, that's where the term living room comes from.
I forgot for a minute that it was in the 1800s and everyone just kind of had a funeral parlor in their house.
Yeah, the death practices were pretty
interesting.
Weird. They had the original furnace in the basement that looked big enough to burn bodies. One time I came home and noticed my cat was halfway off the ottoman, kneading with his paws like something not there and holding the front half of him. I went over there and ran my hand under him, but not touching him, and he fell down. Don't touch my cat.
Could you imagine coming in and seeing one of the cats just floating midair, kneading something?
I'm going to be weary of it now. X was woken up one night with a lady in white standing over him, staring down at him. X is an electrician/farmer who wouldn't make shit up.
I just want you all to know I was joking about the white dress. It's just something that I commonly see. Didn't think she was actually going to show up in a white dress.
Aunt Kate's room that she once lived in is freezing cold all year round. There's no AC and it gets hot and humid in the house. One time I slept in there and had 7 quilts on in the middle of summer. I went to bed with the door closed. They all squeak loudly when opened, and the wood floors squeaked too. In the middle of the night, I sort of woke up feeling hands going up and down me, tucking the blankets in my side like you do with little kids.
No.
I'm good. I opened my eyes even though I was terrified and nothing was there. The door was open too, which would have woken me up from a loud squeak. X remarried and had a daughter who always sees an old man in overalls at the top of the stairs who doesn't want her to go up. She's 10 now and has seen him constantly since she was little.
So now there's an old man in this story?
Yeah,
I mean, I got the
not
Aunt
sure,
Kim, but
hey, it's not like an old Victorian lady's wearing overalls.
I mean,
Left field, twist ending.
I mean, an old man in overalls is pretty noticeable, if you will.
I would definitely notice it.
I wonder where that man came from. No backstory on that one. This next story is from CovenantProdigy. My paternal grandmother was very involved in her church community and would often bring me along for get-togethers, parties, funerals, and other functions that involved people we knew. I was about 7 or 8 when we visited a nice old lady and her family to deliver gifts the church had put together for them. My grandmother, being herself, she quickly caught up in conversation, which left me to roam around a little. The house was large and featured a long, tall wooden staircase to the upstairs. I had never seen a staircase so tall and wanted nothing more than to make it to the top. But when I took, honestly, though, I would probably be the same way as a kid, just want to go up the staircase.
I was mama's boy, so I just hung around her.
Yeah, you would. I would have been off adventuring into Narnia. But when I took the first step with my hand on one of the support columns for the banister, I saw a very tall man looking down at me from the top. He was leaning on the banister with an incredibly deep voice, complete with a heavy southern drawl, and he told me, "Boy, them stairs ain't safe. You's too little. Don't come up them stairs or I'll give you a whooping." Gave you guys my inner southern there.
Reminds me of my grandpa.
I was going to say, I was trying to summon my grandpa. Being the good kid I was, I apologized and left the room, though I'm pretty sure his eyes followed me. Fast forward about 15 years, and I met one of the old lady's grandchildren at her funeral. I asked about the grandfather, who I presumed was the tall man, and I was told he died almost 30 years prior. Apparently, he had fallen down those steps and cracked his head.
Good looking out.
He was right. I would have loved to have tried and seen him give the kid a whooping, though.
Yeah, that would be pretty
Just
entertaining.
as a ghost, right through his body. At least he didn't tell me he was going to knock his back glass out.
I was going to say the same thing.
It was always the scariest threat as a kid. Then you'd be like, "What's a back glass, Grandpa? You want to find out?" No. The grandkid thought I was pranking him, but I was in disbelief. "Tall man with the deep voice?" I asked. He looked at me with shock. Yeah, Meemaw said that he had one." "How do you know that?" I casually replied. "I met him once."
I'd be so confused. I'd be like, wait,
What?
what?
Like, aren't you like 23?
Yeah, aren't you like not 30?
He threatened to knock my back glass out.
Happens. You know, it happens sometimes. Jeez.
Good old Meemaw.
All right. I got another one. This one's from user Get Busy with Lizzie _
Getting busy with Lizzie.
A series of experiences. For as long as I can remember, I've seen shadows and heard creaking, closing doors, misplaced items, and other unexplainable things throughout my childhood home. I've asked to always watch horror movies and scared myself by reading creepypastas, which means I had several different escape routes planned out depending on where the serial killer that was obviously going to come for me tried to get in.
This girl's got it right.
I was going to say, it sounds familiar.
Or guy, I don't really know, but no, they got it right, guys, because a number of plans. I have plans A through Z.
Never be too careful. One day when I was in high school, I was home alone after school, sitting in the living room watching TV. From the mudroom that connected the living room to the garage, I heard a loud bang like someone smashing their fist against the door connecting the garage and mudroom. Ran up to the kitchen with my phone, grabbed a knife, and peeked over the counter out the window towards the front of the house.
See, that was the first mistake. You just get out. You just leave. Why are you even in the house at that point?
Maybe they don't know where to run to.
How do you not know? Where's your plan 5050?
You gotta know where it's coming from. No one is outside. No cars, and the garage door was still closed, meaning no one got into the garage. No wind slammed the door. I eventually talked myself out of the whole serial killer thing, but I haven't been able to explain it, and it hasn't happened again. A different night. My parents were gone and I went to sleep. I wake up to knocking on my bedroom door. My parents wouldn't have knocked to check in on me sleeping. Without access to a weapon, I froze because obviously this time it's going to be a serial killer.
No, every time. It's always a killer. There's never another option. It's either a killer or a rapist.
I'll take your word for it.
It has to be.
And just laid there for 10 minutes. Never heard any footsteps, nothing. Got up and went to my parents' room. They were both fast asleep. So it's not even like they had just come home when I heard the knocking.
I don't blame her for her thought or his thought process. Again, I don't know the gender of this person, and I'm assuming it's a woman because they have the same thought process as me.
Yeah, they do. A different day, I set a water bottle on the kitchen counter and continued walking toward the hallway. A couple seconds later, I heard the bottle fall. But when I get back into the kitchen, the bottle is across the room. Yet another day, I was home alone in the living room when I heard a sneeze from back towards the bedrooms. My first instinct was to say, "Bless you." My second thought was, did my boyfriend leave 30 minutes ago? Okay, so confirmation, it is probably a woman. And that would freak me out too, because I'm like, did he just come back or something? But if he's still gone, ugh.
I would just like to point out, that is not confirmation.
Like, probably.
Now I'm hoping it's somebody else just to be like, you're wrong. But either way, yeah, I hope they have cats or something. Maybe it was a cat. Because if not, it's a killer. That's the only other option.
Only other option? During college, I came home for break. I had to sleep in a loft bed, and I brought my sister's dog up with me because she liked to cuddle. I was woken up by both the feeling and sound of someone climbing up the ladder, which I was very acquainted with at the time. I can feel my sister's dog against my leg, lying between me and the edge, when I felt something pet down the blanket like they were petting the dog.
I just don't like it when these things are touching the animals.
I don't like it too. It's creepy. It's a whole other level of creepy. I must have moved because the dog realized I was awake and immediately turned around to jump on my chest with her ears down, shaking.
Oh, poor baby.
Oh, it sucks. The intensity of events have toned down quite a bit, but for a stretch of time, something wanted to make itself known.
Could it not?
Yeah, that would be great if it didn't, but it kind of did. Or just likes dogs, I guess.
Maybe.
Maybe.
It needs to not pet the dog, so it's scaring the poor dog.
It needs to not be in the house.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be great. Well, I didn't like your story because the dog got scared, and you know how I feel about animals.
Dude, we had a dog and cat.
Oh, gosh. We did have both. The cat didn't seem scared, though. It was making biscuits in the air.
Oh, thank goodness for that.
So our last story from the night is from 7 Ambo. While I was younger, I lived at my grandparents' old house. They built a new one and had moved. The house was always creepy. There was a long hallway with no windows from the kitchen down to the end to the pink bathroom. If it's famously known as the pink bathroom, please change the color. Thank you. That was the kids' bathroom, and I always hated it. I hated that hallway. Whenever we were in the living room, you would always catch someone standing at the door into the hallway out of the corner of your eye. Absolutely not. Why do you live there?
I mean, I would move.
These people, it's from the sounds of it, they moved into this house after their grandparents left.
It's always the grandparents' house.
If you knew this is like one of those memes where it's just like when rent prices are too high, but you also live with a ghost. It's one of those.
Yeah.
At night, we always hear running on the roof. Our roofs are flat, and there is a stairway that leads to the roof from inside the house. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, like they were playing catch up there. But I think the creepiest things that happened were we'd always see our mother, either in the hallway walking to her room or the kitchen, or she would come to our room and say something at the door, same hallway, and then turn and walk into her room. When we would follow her into the room she went into, she wouldn't be there. She would either be in a different part of the house or not home entirely. When I first read this, I was like, oh no, they're just seeing their mom's ghost like pop up. No, this sounds like a mimic.
Yeah, I was going to say doppelganger.
Mimic and a doppelganger. Doppelganger.
Never cool.
I was asleep on the top bunk of our bunk bed. This person has 2 sisters. I just want everyone to know that. It was in parentheses. I remember waking up late at night to the sound of my mother calling me. The voice was echoing, so it sounded like it came from the bathroom that was between our room and our parents' room. I got up, put my feet on the ladder, and was about to climb down when I looked down at the bottom bunk. It was a queen-size bed, and found my mother asleep with my sisters. She'd usually read to us every night and probably fell asleep. While I was staring at her, I heard my quote-unquote mother calling me again, and I remember I froze.
Hell no.
I know, right?
Hell
I'm also
no.
realizing that these were children that therefore they were not a willing participant in moving to this house. Yeah, no, I'm not doing that. I just kept quiet. My mind was trying to make sense. I was only about 8 or 9 years old. The voice was getting a bit more impatient or angry. I was frightened, and all I could do was climb back into bed and get under the covers and wait for the voices to stop calling me. I think it called me maybe another 2 times and then stopped. I don't remember falling asleep. Immediately would be waking up my mother.
Yeah, I would be freaking out and waking everyone up, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. At the very minimum, I am waking my mother up and being like, why are you calling me from down the hall? That was one of the scariest memories I have from that house. I hated it. We don't believe in ghosts. We believe in the jinn, which are entities that live in older areas, abandoned places, and out in the desert. If you build in areas which were previously desert-like, in our case, you could be building in places where they inhabit. Some are good, some are not, but we have been taught not to interact with them and respect boundaries.
It's probably a good idea not to tempt fate on that one, but it seems like your house did. It's always a grandparent's house.
It's always a grandparent's house.
Terrible.
Built right on top
Never
of...
live on a grandparent's house. Never live in a grandparent's house, apparently. Let that be a warning.
They built a house right where a jinn is. And it sounds like that ghost was not respecting their boundaries.
It wasn't. It was no animal this time.
Yeah, no, but could you imagine like walking down the hallway after not seeing your mother? Like that would be scary. If she hadn't seen her mother.
I could not imagine.
Oh, terrible. Absolutely terrible. But folks, that is all we have for you tonight. So good night and stay spooky.
Stay spooky, folks.